This pivotal moment is basically what confirmed for me that I wanted to pursue a career in graphic design. So yeah, let me set the scene. Junior year, we had a project assigned to us, which was to create a watercolor style portrait on Adobe Illustrator. And so basically, if you're familiar with watercolor, it's kind of like more of an opaque, type of painting style where you mix paint, the actual paint material with water, and then you layer it on a canvas. But kind of the way to achieve this sort of style digitally is to draw shapes on top of each other at a low opacity, so that as you layer them on top of each other, it creates different intensities of saturation and vibrance. So for my portrait, I chose a photo of me making this face. And I chose to make that face as an expression of self-confidence because at the time I actually was really struggling with that, because someone at the time from my school had made a comment to me about me having like big lips. And, to be honest, that's not something I would really let bother me. But for whatever reason at the time, I let it get to my head. And so I started feeling like very self-conscious about it. And that brings me to lesson number 5, which is be careful where you place your self-value. Don't ever let your self-value be found in other people, because they will always be able to either build you up or tear you down. And as a result, that can leave you kind of shifting and changing your identity and not feeling like very rooted in who you are. Personally, I find my value and identity in God. And so there's a verse I actually want to read that kind of what I used as a reminder to not let that whole, lips comment bother me and build back up my sense of, self-worth and confidence. And that is Psalm 139:14, which says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so, I remember kind of like reflecting and thinking on that and really internalizing it. And, after internalizing it, I'm like, what is the guy talking about, bro? Like, and so that's why I chose to make that face as kind of like a way to combat that whole kind of feeling. But yeah, here is the portrait in question. And so the portrait really was actually just made for the purpose of the class, because it was, like I said, it was like an assigned project to do the watercolor portrait. But then it just so happened that after we had completed the project for class, there was a congressional art competition happening. And so, like I said, because, me and Miss Taylor, we were buddies, and she was like, Perry, like, you did a really good job on this watercolor portrait. I think you should submit it to this congressional art competition. And I was like, I guess why not? We'll see what happens. And then, so yeah, I ended up submitting it, and I was awarded a certificate in the graphic design category and was a finalist for Best in Show at the Congressional Art Show. So yeah, that was a pretty, cool experience to have, and something that really gave me a lot of confidence. And yeah, I remember I got to take a picture with like the, I guess like the Congress, was it the senator or something like that, or representative from my district, Pat Meehan, although I think he did end up getting in a little bit of trouble soon after we took this photo. But yeah, that was just a really exciting time for me, getting to win that award. And then also another thing is, like, at school, on the announcements at the end of every day, I swear for like, I don't know, it felt like it might have only been like a week, 2 weeks, but it literally felt for like it was like a month. They would just be like, congratulations to Junior Perry Sosi on winning this award. And so like every day in my last period, I'd just be there like, as I'm hearing my name on the announcements. I don't know if Miss Taylor put in a word to have me get some extra airtime. But yeah, literally, it was like every day I was just hearing my name on the announcements, which was like, obviously it was really cool to get that acknowledgement. That really did, I guess, kind of build my credibility as an artist, and at least like around school and stuff, people began to know that like, oh, this guy Perry, he does like graphic design stuff, which I think was just good for, laying the foundation for starting to, kind of build my brand. I think by that time I was already kind of going by P Sosi. I don't really remember who was like the first person to really call me P Sosi. Whoever it was, like, shout out to you. But yeah, I think by that time I already was going by PSOC because like I had my art Instagram and everything. But actually, no, that's not true. I just realized when I first had my art Instagram, it used to be soci.art. It used to be just like, yeah, just soci.art, not PSOC. So I gotta think back to when I actually changed it to PSOC. But yeah, anyways, to get kind of back on topic, really the reason why I wanted to point out this whole experience of winning, of this, you know, creating this portrait and winning the award is that it really gave me obviously the confidence, but it was also really important in terms of me starting my freelance graphic design career. And so yeah, at the time on Instagram, I really didn't have a following. I probably had like 200 followers or something like that. But you know, like I said, because the portrait that I made was at a gallery like showcase, it was there for like I think a couple weeks or maybe like a month or something like that. And so there was a woman that had gone to like see the show, because I think if I remember correctly, the gallery was at like one of the local community colleges, so it was like, you know, pretty easy access to anyone and everyone. And so there was a woman that had gone to see the gallery showcase and really liked my portrait and everything. And then so I guess she ended up finding my Instagram, my art Instagram, and then she messaged me. It was like, hey, you know, I saw your artwork at the gallery. I thought it looked, you know, it looked really cool, and I would love for you to make a, you know, commission piece for me in that kind of like same style. And I was like, oh shoot, yeah, for sure, I got you. And so I feel like that was really like the first time someone, like a stranger, had reached out to me to you know, for commission work, like for graphic design commission work at least. Like I'd done like drawings, like physical drawings commissions before, but this was like my first like graphic design commission, and I guess my entryway into the world of freelance. So yeah, I took on that that opportunity, and I ended up making the portrait for her. And so after making that first, you know, poster as part of my freelance design career, I started you know, kind of getting more opportunities come my way. And so kind of the first genre of commissions I was doing was actually in the world of cover art for music artists. And so word of mouth was kind of really what got me these first initial opportunities. There was this local SoundCloud rapper whose name I'm not going to mention because I have a bit of a complex relationship with him. But yeah, he was on the lookout for a cover artist, you know, a cover art artist. And so someone from my school like had him on Snapchat or something like that, and he had basically swiped up on this, you know, this rapper's story and was like, yeah, I know somebody, you know, that makes cool, you know, kind of designs and stuff. You should check him out if you're looking for, you know, a designer for your cover art. And then so I guess he checked out my page, liked what he saw, and then he messaged me. He's like, yo, bro, you know, would love to work with you on getting some cover art done. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm totally down to work with you, you know, make this cover art. So yeah, he sent me over the first project. And so I, you know, he even sent me the song as well to listen to kind of get more of a feel of what the cover art should look, or like the vibe of the song and what the cover art should look like. And so after listening to the song, hearing the title and all that, I came up with the cover, and he was like, yo, like this is fire, all that. And I was like, bet, like he loves the cover, everything's going great. So then I was like, yeah, would you be able to send me $25 for it? And first of all, $25 is like for any art, like even if you're like making some like artwork that's not even good, 25 is way cheap for cover art, and especially for like the quality of what I was doing and the time I spent doing it. 25 was way cheap, but you know, that was like my first time really doing it, and I didn't know the market. But you want to know what he told me? He was like, oh, actually I like don't pay for cover art. I was like, oh, so immediately that should have been a red flag, right? Like he was like, I don't pay for cover art. But being that this was like my first opportunity and I was kind of new to it all, I was like, oh, I guess these guys don't pay for cover art. And then it's not like he was like a big time artist, but he was like big enough where I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. You know, the trade-off is, you know, I get exposure by him like tagging me and stuff. And, you know, in exchange for doing, you know, this cover art that I'm, you know, pouring all of my creative energy and, you know, a time into and all that. But yeah, I mean, that brings me actually to lesson 6, which is do your research and be educated. Because imagine if I had just like taken a second to be like, like designers don't get paid for doing cover art, then what's like the whole point? Like if people are making a career out of this. So what I should have done is I should have done my research and be like, yeah, like this is not normal. Like, you know, sure, I spent my time making that one cover art. I really should have just like never sent it to him and been like, yeah, I'm not gonna give it to you unless you pay. And I'm sure he would have paid, but because, you know, I was a youngin at the time, I was, you know, kind of let myself, I guess, get, you know, pushed around in that regard for this, you know, for this artist in particular. But yeah, I think this honestly, that really was detrimental to my ability to earn income as an artist, because it made me set the bar so low for myself, where I was like, I didn't really value my own artwork as being worth, you know, a monetary value. Like I was like, you know, I guess, you know, if artists really don't pay, you know, that much for it, like there's no way I can be charging like, you know, $50 to $100 for this cover art, because artists don't really, you know, like rappers don't really pay for this artwork. So I think that really set me back in terms of like, you know, my pricing and stuff, and really figuring out like, you know, how to gauge the market and charge what is a fair price for the, you know, the work and quality and all that I'm, you know, putting into it. But yeah, anyways, like I said, I ended up kind of like going with it, you know, kind of using the whole thing of, you know, working for free in exchange for that exposure. And so I ended up making like a few cover arts for this guy. And so I guess the positive was that I did end up getting more exposure. Like, you know, there were other rappers that ended up reaching out to me and asking me to do work for them. And so I ended up doing, you know, quite a bit of, you know, cover art for, you know, a bunch of guys in like mainly the Philly area. I don't think there was anyone too far outside of that. I think there was maybe one guy I think was from Atlanta that I ended up doing work for. It was quite the experience getting, you know, kind of my initial, you know, journey into freelance, and kind of having to learn on the fly, you know, about things like, you know, pricing, client relationships, and all that. But I will say though, one kind of like cool story I have about the whole cover art phase was that there is a rapper who I can't mention his name. I didn't actually end up getting to work with him, but a rapper that goes by Too Rare. He's a you know, well-known Philly rapper. He has like 660K followers now, but at the time when I was in like my junior year of high school, you know, doing in my little cover art phase, he had actually reached out to me to get some cover art made. But he did it on like such a short notice, and then I think I'd responded and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get it done by like, you know, whatever time period he needed. I think it was probably like, honestly, it was probably like the next day or like in a couple hours. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to get it done. But yeah, he never ended up like responding. Once I'd asked a question basically like, do you want it to like look like this or something, and then he never responded. But yeah, I didn't end up following up, because I was like, all right, like I don't have time to be bothered with this. I got other stuff. So hey, I mean, you know, I never got to work with him or anything, but you know, who's to say that I don't get to, you know, potentially work with him in the future. And also he is part Ghanaian, so you know, shout out to bro. Yeah, hopefully, you know, I haven't done too much like cover art for music artists as of late. I have done a little bit, but hopefully that is something I get to do more of, because I did really enjoy that process of, you know, figuring out how to create a visual that related to, you know, the audio, you know, auditory sound of the, whether it be like a single or an album, and, you know, creating something that really reflects that and is also very, you know, aesthetically pleasing and attractive to the audience. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the you know, the cover art phase as in relation to music artists. And one thing I will say as well is that, you know, that whole you know, time of me working with all these rappers definitely did help me build my social media following a little bit. It's not like it was anything crazy. I still was definitely under like 500 followers at that time, probably like, you know, calm like 440 or something like that. But yeah, that was, you know, at least I was able to just keep growing my confidence as an artist. Like confidence is just so important as an artist, but really obviously in any other kind of like, you know, field of work that you're in, just being confident in yourself and what you're doing and your abilities and all that.